Now, something entirely different. In the face of potential arrest, Donald Trump held a defiant rally in Waco, Texas yesterday, opening the former president's first event of the 2024 Republican nomination campaign. Let's have a quick listen.
Weaponization of law enforcement against their political opponent is something straight out of the Stalinist Russian horror show. What they've done to our nation, just think of it, what they've done to our nation. The stakes of this election could not be more clear. Either we surrender to the demonic forces abolishing and demolishing and happily doing so our country, or we defeat them in a landslide on November 5th, 2024.
Well, he also hit out at his main challenger for the Republican nomination, Ron DeSantis, who's been having a go at him for a while. Let's talk to a former advisor to two former US presidents, Steve Gill. Morning to you, Steve. It's good to see you. I mean, I don't know what it's like on that side of the pond when it comes to politics, really, because over here, when someone's going for the top job and they start talking about what is going on as being demonic, and let's beat the demonic forces. I mean, it's laughable over here.
Well, it was classic Trump. Keep in mind that he held this rally of 20,000 people in Waco, Texas, literally in the middle of nowhere. It's about a 3-hour drive from major population centers like Houston and Dallas and San Antonio. And yet you had this huge crowd that started assembling about 8 a.m. for classic Trump. I mean, he, like Andy Burnham, he came out putting the pedal to the metal in this early campaign stage of the presidential politics, and even went on to claim that those who've been wrongly accused, those who've been betrayed, he is their warrior, he is their justice, and dare I say, he is their retribution. So he didn't pull any punches whatsoever in his first big major rally of the presidential sweepstakes.
And what was the reaction of the crowd to Donald Trump yesterday? I mean, obviously there's legal storm around him at the moment. He spoke about being arrested on Tuesday. We're yet to see that. Did that seem to deter the crowd or concern the crowd at all yesterday, or were they loyal to Donald Trump, as we've seen so many times before?
No, I think absolute loyalty was on display. The problem for President Trump is that this is playing in the primary, and Texas was a strategic location for this rally. It's one of the early big Super Tuesday states. About 13 states will have their Republican primary picks on March 5th, a little less than a year from now. Texas has as many delegates up for grabs as the state of California. So you've got California and Texas, Tennessee, and other states that will all hold that presidential primary on March 5th, a little less than a year from now. So Texas was critical. And he came out also taking some shots, as was mentioned, against Governor DeSantis in Florida, claiming that he was, not that successful of a governor, that Florida's always been a very successful state, and that if Donald Trump had not supported him 4 years ago when he ran for governor of Florida, he'd be working in a cigar store or in a law firm today. So he didn't pull any punches going after DeSantis as well. The problem for President Trump is this all plays well to his base, to his strong supporters, but it doesn't necessarily translate to helping in a general election where he still faces Trump fatigue, faces problems with libertarian young voters and suburban women voters. And I don't think this rally or any of the talk of indictment really helps him with that general election campaign if he wins the Republican primary.
Yeah, but in terms of the Republican primary, because it is all about his base, has his base been significantly weakened by, I mean, everyone's talking about DeSantis, of course, but, I mean, whoever else might end up standing?
I think there is some slippage. You have folks that embraced him 6 years ago when he first ran for president, certainly when he was the nominee, that 2 years ago were in his camp. There's been some slippage of people who are endorsing other candidates now. For example, in Texas, the lieutenant governor in Texas is on board with Ron DeSantis, is on board with President Trump, and issued a call for Ted Cruz, one of the senators from Texas, and for others to embrace President Trump and tell DeSantis basically to wait another 4 years. So I think there has been some slippage. There is some Trump fatigue among major donors, and his blustery bullish approach is not necessarily continuing to play as well, even with his base of voters who've supported him in the past. The question is whether DeSantis, over the next couple of months, while he still has his legislature in session in Florida, he's going to be waiting. He is starting to counterpunch Trump a bit, but he's going to be waiting until his legislature gets out of session to truly get in the race. And then we'll see, I think, really a two-person race for the Republican nomination. It will be DeSantis and Trump, and we'll see if DeSantis can peel off enough votes from the Trump supporters to win the nomination.
Do you think there is a possibility that Donald Trump could become President Trump once more?
Well, I think there's definitely a possibility. I think, again, this looming indictment and some of the other legal issues just throw fuel on the fire for his supporters. I've used the example that his supporters will crawl over cracked glass on asphalt in August to support him, and these attacks on him by the Injustice Department help fuel their flames. Again, the question is it going to move those moderate voters? Is it going to move the folks who like the Trump policies but might like a different personality, like a Ron DeSantis at the helm? And is DeSantis better poised to win a general election versus President Trump, giving it yet another go? And again, getting up in age himself, even though he has a lot of energy, has a lot of passion, obviously, as he displayed it yesterday at the rally. But at some point, you do have the idea: are we being governed by people who are way too long in the tooth when there are other people that have the same policies that have a little bit more youth and vigor and energy than even President Trump?
What is likely to happen? I've got to ask you about the Democrats then with all of this. I mean, I know there's sort of indications that Biden may want to run again. I mean, in some respects, it doesn't seem like the most sensible idea, does it? I mean, in terms of turning this into a proper battle, whoever wins the nomination for the GOP, I mean, do the Democrats need somebody younger in? I mean, like a Pete Buttigieg, for example?
A lot of people on the Democratic side would love to have another option from Joe Biden. He continues to make pretty classic gaffes. He was congratulating China when he meant Canada just this weekend, giving a speech. The problem that the Democrats have is they really don't have a bench. You've got Pete Buttigieg, but the disasters in our transportation sector under his watch have been horrific, with train derailments, with airplane issues. I mean, he has been a disaster as the transportation secretary for the country, and came as a small-town mayor. You've got Kamala Harris, who has not done anything, really doesn't have anything in her portfolio that she can point to that she's done as vice president. So the Democrats really lack a bench, and Biden is kind of all they have. And a lot of Democrats are wishing there could be another choice. But until Biden steps aside or has a major health issue, I think he's probably their point person for the next campaign.
Wow. Steve, Gill, really good to have you on the programme this morning. Really good to have your analysis and your expertise this morning. Thank you very much.